Nothing defines our lives quite like habits do. It's what we do every day that shapes how we live right now and offers us the chance to change our lives moving forward. Now, we've all tried to build some kind of habit at some point, but what makes a habit stick? How should we approach forming strong and lasting habits? First, you need to know which habits are worth building and which have the potential to bring value to your life. It's always helpful to start by taking stock of your life and thinking about the things that you're unhappy with and the kinds of goals you want to pursue. The insight here is that habits are causes with effects, and you have to ask the question, what effects do I want my habits to have on my life? Don't just pick up habits arbitrarily or because everybody else is doing it. You have to start by thinking about what will benefit your life. Recently, for me, that has been developing a reading habit. I do read a fair amount because I'm studying philosophy, but I really want to develop a reading habit that extends beyond what I'm studying. Something I've always enjoyed in my life is I just love to think about new ideas and learn new things, and reading is a good way for me to promote these things in my life, not to mention the fact that it has benefits when it comes to, focus and concentration. I've identified concrete things that I want to promote in my life, that I want to improve, and I've also found a suitable habit, which is reading. Now, when it comes to actually implementing your habit, I want to keep the tips as simple and straightforward as possible. The first tip is set your intention, keep it really simple and actionable at the beginning. You don't want to have kind of aimless, vague background thoughts about the kinds of habits you want to form. Stop thinking vague thoughts like, I want to develop a reading habit. That doesn't mean anything. Instead, you have to make things super clear, super concrete, and be as precise as you can. A good place to start is to use this technique that James Clear outlines in Atomic Habits. Grab a piece of paper and a pen and then write this down. I will insert behavior at insert time in insert location. This is a super simple and effective template for distilling your habit in its simplest form and being super transparent and clear about what you want to achieve, and it also gives you that first step and action towards building your habit. The second thing to keep in mind is keep it very simple. Whenever you want to learn a new habit, you need to make it as easy as possible for yourself. You need to make it low effort. You need to remove disincentives. As always, when you pick a new habit, make an effort to lower the stakes. For me, this meant, at the beginning, setting the bare minimum goal of reading just 10 pages. In the beginning, you want to set yourself up for success by setting a goal so small that you couldn't possibly avoid it. You also want to avoid overcomplicating things as well. You should avoid extra work like habit tracking in some kind of journal, especially at the beginning, while you're putting those first bits of effort into building your habit. People will often try to sell you fancy tactics and hacks for habit building, but in the beginning, it's very simple. Focus on doing something small and doing that thing consistently. So once you have your habit picked out and distilled in its simplest form, it's time to start with strategies for sticking to that habit. Some simple strategies here are use cues and habit stacking. Again, James Clear talks about habit stacking in Atomic Habits. It's a great technique for building new habits. And the structure here is just after some old habit, you'll perform your new habit. Basically, you just want to tack your new habit, the one that you want to learn, on the end of another habit that you've already learned. So for me, with the reading habit, I just tacked it on to the end of lunch. I eat lunch every day. That's already a habit that I have. And so I've decided that after lunch, I'll pick up a book and I'll do some reading. I think it's a lot more useful to schedule your habit to come after other habits instead of to come at a specific time of day. I think if I had said, I'll read at 1 p.m. instead of after lunch, again, I implement all this pressure to start exactly at 1 p.m. I can't have things overlapping with that time. So I think that in general, it's easier to avoid picking your habit and scheduling it for a particular time of day because things happen, things interrupt, and it's just too hard to stick to that exact time. The next thing is use cues to encourage you to do your new habit. For me, that meant removing a lot of the resistance, just putting different books out in different rooms so that I can pick them up. James Clear also recommends trying to build habits in newer environments. Environments that we're really used to bring out behaviors that we're used to. It's probably not a good idea for me to start my reading habit in a room that I'm usually watching YouTube or getting distracted in. And the last thing with maintenance strategies these is just remove distractions when you're trying to build a new habit. If you're trying to build a reading habit or an exercise habit or whatever it is, just remove the things from your environment that will tempt you to do something else. Try to work out without actually having your phone on hand, because again, that's another distraction that'll just keep you from the task that you want to complete. And the fourth and final point is create a plan for consistency. One tough thing with habits is that they usually refer to practices that aren't necessarily urgent or important in our lives. Your wanting to build a reading habit is just not as important or urgent as that paper that you need to write for school. So it's easy for us to prioritize our urgent and important work and set habits aside for other, less focused, less important moments throughout our days. But I think with all of this, the lesson to learn is that if you really want to build a habit, you're gonna have to make it a priority. I've always tried to follow the advice, do your most important, urgent, difficult task in the day first. And so in the beginning, when I was developing my reading habit, I would focus on my work, my schoolwork, when I had all my energy, and that really seems to make sense, right? But the problem was that this led to me displacing reading to the end of the day. And of course, at the end of the day, it's much easier for me to just pull out my laptop and pull out YouTube or Netflix or something. So the lesson here is that yes, habits are going to be difficult, and that means that you're going to have to prioritize them even in the face of more urgent, more important tasks. Eventually, you want a habit to become automatic, but you do have to start self-consciously, start intentionally, and put a lot of initial effort into just repetitions of your habit before it becomes natural. So that's a brief and simple guide that's helped me build habits. When it comes to breaking habits, though, of course, that's a different topic, and I'm thinking about making a video covering that as well soon. But I hope what I covered was helpful and insightful and inspiring. Links are down below to subscribe to this channel and follow me. And with that, I'll see you in the next one.